Today, we will be doing a PD on transition planning. The agenda as follows. We'll be speaking on what transition planning is and how we can use transition planning, and where transition planning steps in between special education versus ADA, post-secondary education, employment and work skills, independent living, self-determination and self-advocacy, and healthy relationships. Then we will be concluding today's PD. Okay, so let's dive in with transition planning. What is transition planning? Well, the New York State of Education Department defines transition planning as a process that requires a partnership among the student, family, and school district, and as appropriate other agencies that can provide transition activities to help students with disabilities move from school to adult life. Now, Romana expressed in his studies that transitioning into adulthood is a very specific time in one's life, and one can identify adulting as one of the biggest maturations one may experience. However, as a child, teenager, or adult with disabilities, there are challenges that may occur due to certain incapabilities. It is important that not only parents, but school officials and communities have a hand in support for when it entails transition planning for students. So as we know, transitioning to adulthood marks a major development milestone, and careful planning is required between students, families, and teachers in order to successfully set and achieve post-school goals. Just to speak a little further on transition planning, we see that it will include the following, which we will be reviewing: special education versus ADA, post-secondary education, employment and work skills, independent living, self-determination and self-advocacy, and healthy relationships. It also supports students not only in elementary school, but aids them after graduation from high school, being fully included in meeting and modifications that may be made as they age out of their IEPs, and services may need to be changed over time. Special education versus ADA. Now, ADA broadly protects the rights of individuals with disabilities in employment, and their access to state and local government services, places of public accommodation, transportation, and other important areas of an American's life. While special education supports students that are in school, when we think of transition planning and students leaving the education world, we want to think of these individuals entering society as citizens in the work field while using public transportation and other necessities that may be important for adults to function in society. When we think of secondary education, we know that secondary education is an educational level that is followed by success after completing the education level that follows the successful completion of secondary education, often referred to as high school. At the end of one's post-educational journey, there has to be a focus on the student's IEP goals from their educational journey being mastered, while general educational students have school-wide and grade level goals. IEP students must have their own individual yet flexible goals mastered. We're going to dive into employment and work skills. As we can only imagine, whether you own a disability or not in society, one needs a job to bring in sustainable income, to manage needs, and possibly manage financial necessities. As we can remember, the same rights students with disabilities have in the classroom are the same rights they are given in today's society. The current study draws on positive youth development theory. PYD has made an important contribution to the development of our understanding of how young people can develop and strive. PYD draws a relational development systems meta theory, ecological systems theory, and development contextualism theory. And this all connects to how one needs certain supports in order to be successful in employment and work skills in today's society. Now, when we dive into independent living, we continue to discuss things from our last slide, that the same rights given to students with disabilities are the same rights given to adults. There needs to be space made for them to be eligible in society, and this connects to the 6 points stated by Young and Rooney. 16 soft skills are identified under 3 broad categories: personal attributes, working collegially and collaboratively, and task focus and completion. Key stakeholder groups, parents, disability, employment service providers, and employers rated punctuality, reliability, oral communication, and personal grooming hygiene as priority skills. Challenges to securing work experience for school-age students with intellectual disability are identified. Teacher participants share strategies for overcoming some of these limitations. It is suggested that work exploration should commence earlier for young people with intellectual disability. In addition to developing student soft skills, it is also necessary to develop language expectations around employability. Now we're going to dive into self-determination and advocacy. These two things are important for adults who own disabilities and may not be able to advocate for themselves, as well as being able to hold firm on choices or preferences. Parents are usually the voice and management of these concerns. However, under state law and IDEA, we see that parents' rights are transferred to their children after their 18th birthday. This ensures individuality and surency of their own well-being for themselves. Unfortunately, in the past, when we think of healthy relationships, centers did not believe people with disabilities needed to connect with others and practice healthy relationships. It was failed to be understood that even though persons who own disabilities may have some restraints or inability to specific things, this doesn't take away from their ability to be and feel things all humans feel. One important topic that should be had includes sex education, followed by healthy relationships. The more they are educated on healthy relationships, especially is the more increased knowledge and skills for sex and relationships that um, these people will have. This concludes our presentation. Here are all of our references for all of the information and sources found in this document. Thank you so much.